So recently, there were a couple different YouTube videos that they made me cry. And you might be thinking, well, Brian, that's probably because you're just a big softy crybaby, and honestly, you wouldn't be wrong. But this wasn't just like a sad song had come on the radio or I was watching the new Avatar movie. Both of these particular videos touched something deeper. And it made me ask myself, why? The first video was from Joe Bauer. He's an American travel writer who's been living in Europe for about a decade now. And he talked about the modern American dream and how after living abroad, his perspective has kind of changed. It feels like maybe it's not all it's cracked up to be. The second video was from Sierra LeDuc, who dives into the history of work, how modern work has evolved, especially in the United States after the Industrial Revolution, and why so many people feel drained and uninspired and disconnected in their jobs. She also talks about something interesting, how technology is actually allowing some people to reclaim work as something meaningful again. Not just something you survive for 40 hours a week, but something you can shape and have some ownership and purpose in. You see this a lot with content creators, but it's happening in all kinds of different fields. Now, I don't want to get too deep into their arguments because I think you should just watch their videos for yourself. I can never say what they had to say better than they did. And these videos might seem like they're unrelated and about different topics, but they actually struck the same nerve in me. I think part of this goes back to watching my dad when I was growing up. My father was a steel worker at a steel mill. And the older I get, the more I realize how much his story has shaped the way that I think about life and work and, well, really a lot of things. These two videos, they tapped into something that I've been feeling for a long time. A growing sense that this might not be the kind of life we were actually built for. All the stuff and all the striving, all of the pressure. At some point, it starts to feel less like freedom and more like a prison. And if I'm being really honest, there are moments when I'm at my most overwhelmed where I just catch myself thinking, what if? What if the bottom just dropped out of all of this? What if everything collapsed and I could just pick up a few pieces that actually matter and leave the rest behind? And it's not because I want disaster. It's because it would force me to rebuild a simpler life with only the things that actually matter. But that's a pretty uncomfortable and scary thought to be having. Now, to be fair, I'm also aware that I'm probably somewhere in the neighborhood of what people like to call the midlife crisis. But for me, it's not like that cliche. I don't want to trade my wife in for a younger woman in a red sports car. For me, it feels more like something else. It feels like I'm reaching a point where I'm reevaluating the dream that I've been chasing. And I'm realizing a lot of the things I've spent years pursuing, I'm not sure I ever really wanted them. They were just the things that I thought I was supposed to want. This feeling for me, it goes back way farther than midlife though. I remember feeling something like this when I was still a kid. Like I said before, my dad was a steel worker, and he was also somebody that just loved life. He loved adventure and travel and being outside. He loved friends and family. He loved being on the water and lakes and mountains. And whenever he could, he had us out on a boat somewhere. But to make that life possible, he spent his days grinding it out in an environment that I can't even imagine. It was 135 degrees in there in the wintertime. But he dreamt about weekends. He dreamt about vacations. And the big dream was about retirement. And when that opportunity came to retire early, he took it. Shortly afterwards, though, the company filed for bankruptcy. My dad lost about half his pension. And by that point, the years of working in that environment, which was super unhealthy, smoking cigarettes, it had taken its toll. His lungs were shot. He had COPD and later lung cancer. I was 20 years old when my dad died. He didn't even live long enough to reach the age when I'll be eligible to draw Social Security. And the tragedy is, his story, it's not a unique one. Now, I'm a musician and I'm a creative person, so for years I assumed that the feeling came from just being an artist, the classic square peg in a round hole. So I made a compromise. I'll work the normal job, I'll put in my 40 hours a week, and I'll use the rest of life to pursue the things that really matter. But lately, I've realized that compromise actually looks a lot like my dad's compromise, just in a different form. I don't think I'm the only one wrestling with this, though. People everywhere are starting to ask similar questions. You see people who are reinventing their careers in the middle of their lives, or downsizing radically, becoming digital nomads, or moving to different countries, living on boats or living in vans converted into homes. Not just because it's trendy, but because people are realizing something important, that time is precious. And if your life consists of just constantly feeling like something you're just trying to survive, something might be off. Over the last few years, I've started feeling a deep longing for something different. More simplicity. More meaning. More presence in the moment, whether I'm working or whether I'm at rest. More community in my life. More authenticity instead of constantly switching masks depending on where I am in the moment. Because if you're constantly fantasizing about the bottom falling out of your life, that's probably a sign that something does need to change. So here's where I'm at right now. I don't have some dramatic plan to sail away in one of these sailboats tomorrow, as nice as that sounds. But I do think these longings are pointing to real needs. Needs that deserve attention. So I've given myself some homework to do. My homework is to figure out what I actually want, to figure out what I don't want, and what kind of life I'm really trying to build. Now, if any of this resonates with you, you might want to do the same. Only you get to decide what kind of life you are trying to live. Don't let someone else or society choose that for you. So, I want to make you a deal. I'm going to spend some time and I'm going to do my homework. And I encourage you to do yours. And I'll see you in the next one.